and I've reached home. So
Okay.
Cool. So, welcome
Are
to
we
another
live yet,
episode.
Kevin? Because it doesn't say we're live.
So, we are live. We are live now. So, thank you guys for attending another episode of Entrepreneur Stories. And we have as a guest today Dr. Commander Deepak Adhar. The topic for today is an important one. Is leadership. When we think about leadership, we think often about guiding others, but the first person that should be clear on the direction is ourselves, and that's why we have invited as a VIP guest, Commander Deepak Adha. Commander Deepak, thank you very much for accepting the invite.
thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here.
And as I was saying, that Commander Deepak was supposed to be in Switzerland with his daughter, and that's why I thought, okay, the timing is going to be perfect for him. But if he doesn't mind me sharing, he did not make it to Switzerland because his little dog is not well, so he decided to stay back for him. And I have known Commander Deepak for a while now, and I do tell him in many ways he reminds me of my father, and that was another way now, because my father would not come visit me. My father would not go to Canada to visit my sister, because when the dog needs him, he'll be there for the dog. So, and the way my dad puts it is, because that's your responsibility. You've taken on the responsibility willingly. The dog didn't come to you and say, please, please adopt me. You willingly taken on a responsibility, whatever, however big, however small. You fulfill your responsibility, and that's something, I was like, yes, that I admire that. So Commander Deepak is in India, and as you saw a minute ago, he was driving. Again, another commitment, because he was stuck in a storm, and then he was driving home later. So right now, I just thought he could have messaged me saying sorry, can't make it, but he didn't. He was driving and he was online. So there we go.
Yeah, but I'm home now. So
Yeah,
yeah,
good. You're safe.
thank you,
Yes.
thank you. Yeah, I'm safe. Yeah.
So, talking
um,
about who is Commander Deepak Adha, Commander, can you tell us a little more about you?
Okay. So I'm 56 years of age, and I've lived three lives. So my first life was as a Navy pilot. So I used to fly for the Indian Navy, and I went on to command an air squadron. And so I saw military leadership in action, and I got an opportunity to even lead people in, in a military environment, even in a little bit of kind of a conflict situation. We had that operation in Kargil that you must be aware of. I'm sorry, I have to just get this dog in. Yeah, come baby.
That's fine.
Sorry. Yeah, yeah. I'm babysitting the dog, so that's my primary responsibility. Yeah, and I'm home alone with him. Yeah. So after that, then I switched to the corporate, and I was there in a couple of Indian companies heading human resources and operations for about a decade. And then from there, I moved on to corporate training, where I used to train corporate people in corporates and organizations on leadership and teamwork. So that's how, so this is my third avatar, as I would like to call it. Uh, and mostly it has been around leadership. So I was very excited when Nikita told me that, she'd like to have me for a chat and discuss my views and my experiences on leadership.
Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why I wanted to discuss with you about leadership, because initially when we had connected and I heard what you do, well, I guess it'd be nice for you to tell us a little bit more about your work in detail. I know about Pegasus and now the Perspective Consulting. So both, if you talk to us about that. But the reason I want to emphasize on this is because initially, when I had heard of this concept of leadership, I thought, okay, I'm not yet at that stage in my entrepreneurial journey. I'm a sole kind of I work alone with Kevin, and I think I boss him around enough already. So I was thinking, yeah, this is not for me. But then I came across this concept of leading yourself first and then having to lead others, because to be successful in life, you need to lead yourself too. Otherwise, you can just be a drifter. And that's what got me interested. So, Commander Deepak, could you please talk to us about, leadership in general and more about Pegasus and what you do now as well?
Great. So, Pegasus primarily is a company which was formed by some veterans from the armed forces. Because in the armed forces, obviously, one gets an opportunity for leadership at various levels. There is
Mhm.
the opportunity for leading, small teams and then bigger teams, and depending upon where you reach in the hierarchy, and that too in a battle kind of a situation. So,
Mhm.
what we found was that what is true in the armed forces is true anywhere, because finally we are talking about leading people. So, leading people is important. So it's got nothing to do with sector, whether you are in the education sector or whether you are in the manufacturing sector or the IT sector. It really doesn't matter, because finally it's people, and how can you lead people, and that doesn't change irrespective of where you are. So we thought that all those lessons, leadership lessons that we learned in the armed forces, there was a lot which the CV street could also gain from. And as most of you would be aware, most of the management comes at organization called Pegasus, and we used to conduct leadership training for various organizations. So that's how it kind of started. And as Nikita was just saying, so one is a leader and one is leadership. So they are two very different things, though they sound quite similar. So leader is kind of an appointment. One can be, being a leader can be thrust upon you because of circumstances. Whereas leadership
Yeah.
is a behavior. So even if you don't have people,
Oh, is it my connection or have we lost Commander Deepak?
Okay, I think that the
under
connection is
you,
is coming back.
Oh, yeah.
still
Commander
you
Deepak, we
would
lost you for a few seconds.
demonstrate leadership behavior. So that's what is leadership. That uh, the ability to be able to inspire people around you. It happens. So that's what is leadership. Your ability to be able to manage the environment to ensure that
Mhm.
what is your vision or what is your goal, you are able to achieve it by enrolling your environment.
Mhm.
That's where it goes. So even with entrepreneurs,
Commander Commander Deepak, the
can you?
unfortunately
Yeah, yeah.
the sound is you were cutting off, so we couldn't hear everything. Would you be able maybe
And
like just in one or two phrases to give like a simple definition of a leadership?
Yeah. So I say leadership is a behavior.
A
Yeah.
behavior. Okay.
Yeah. So whereas a leader is a position.
Yeah.
So one can come into the position of a leader, whereas leadership is a behavior that you can demonstrate or that is expected, from you. So as I say, even as an individual, when you have got a goal and you want to achieve that goal, you
Mhm.
can't achieve it alone because you require the cooperation and collaboration of people.
Yeah.
You want to get your driver's license or you want to get anything, you go out and there are people that you are dealing with. So your
Yeah.
ability to be able to enroll them to ensure that your goal is achieved, that is what
Mhm.
is called leadership. So if you have a team under you, like a typical entrepreneur would have, so he
Mhm.
can hire or she can hire people, she can pay them salaries, but that doesn't necessarily mean whether they are going to be enrolled in that vision and goal and would work, with that same kind of energy and passion that you have. So that is what is leadership, that when you can enroll your environment around you to achieve the
Mhm.
goal that is there for you, that is leadership. Whether those people are your subordinates or not is of no consequence. Rallying people and rallying your environment around you to be able to achieve your vision or your goal that you have set for yourself or for that organization or entrepreneurship. That's it.
I, l- I love that that
Yeah.
definition. Leadership's a behavior. So that shows that actually everyone can be a leader. Can be a leader even without the title. So I really like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in fact, there is this lovely, analogy that I use. So, I went to this place where there were these, masons who were working, and there were these three people sitting, and they were busy hammering away and breaking marble because there was this, construction happening there. So I asked the first person, "What are you doing?" So he said, "I'm, hitting the hammer on the chisel, and I'm putting the chisel on the stone," which was
Mhm.
a accurate description of what that person was doing. Then I asked
Okay.
the second person, "What are you doing?" He was doing the same thing, but he said, "I'm breaking this piece of marble." Then
Mhm.
I asked the third person, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm building a temple." So all three people were doing the
Mhm.
same thing, and whoever
Mhm.
was the person who was on top, who was getting that thing done, or who had hired those three people to
Mhm.
do that job. But the first one was completely transactional. The person said, "I was getting paid for hitting the hammer on the chisel and
This is
putting
a.
the chisel on that." Whereas the second person was at least looking at that, at least the stone should break. That is what would be an achievement for me. Whereas the third
Yeah.
person was totally enrolled in the vision that he was building a temple. So the passion with which that person was doing that same job, or rather, all the three people were doing that job, was so different. So leadership is being able to get, your team to have the same passion for that goal or that vision that you have. So having an inspired vision and being
Yeah.
able to inspire people with that. That's what I call leadership.
Love it.
I can't remember. Oh, the name of the U.S. president, was it Kennedy? No.
Kennedy.
Who
It
did?
was Kennedy.
Um, wasn't it with NASA? He said that
Yeah.
the vision, the mission was to put a man on the moon. And if you went and asked anybody, even the
Moon.
sweeper, or yeah, sorry, what did I say? Moon. Yes, anybody, you asked anyone working in there, what are you doing, and they would say, I'm working to put a man on the moon. So it could be a sweeper, it could be an
Absolutely.
electrician, it could be an astronaut. Everybody had the same vision, and they were working towards putting a man on the moon. And that was, so as you said, it was that they were all engrossed, they were all enrolled on the same vision, the same mission, that okay, this is what we are doing. And like the mason who said, I'm building a temple, and he knew his vision was to build a temple, and he would consider his goal accomplished when the temple was finished, not the fact that he's hit the hammer. So that's a brilliant analogy. I love that. I think, and I have seen it from my personal experience when so some bosses or managers and just colleagues as well, I feel comfortable working with people who share a vision, and it's okay, we are doing this because this is what the outcome is going to be, and this is how your contribution is going to be valuable in this outcome. Whereas on the other hand, there are people who tell you do this, this, and this, and then you have no idea why you're doing that. And I have worked with people like that as well, where when you ask them, what are you doing? And it's like, I don't know, I was asked to cut circles. And it's assistant teachers at my school who would be cutting circles, cutting paper. And I asked them, for what? What is this going to end up being? Are you making a face of a clown? Are you making a lantern? What are you making out of it? I have no idea. The lead teacher asked me to cut circles, and that was it. So,
Absolutely. So, in fact, I had this experience personally when I was commanding an air squadron. So we had, different trades of people. So there were pilots
mhm,
who were
mhm,
poster boys because they wore the wings and they flew the planes and, that kind of a thing. Then there were the engineers who maintained that aircraft, who
yeah,
serviced it. Then there
mhm,
were the navigators who also sat inside the aircraft and helped with, the mission being delivered.
yeah,
Then there were the marshalers who, helped you with the parking of the aircraft and handling the aircraft out and,
mhm,
getting you on the runway and, take off and things like that. Then there was even the crew who were the safety equipment people who ensured that your parachute was packed well and your, life jacket was okay
yeah,
with the carbon, the cylinder, which is going to inflate it and,
mhm,
all those kind of things. And then there was even the guys who put the coffee in that little thing, which because, our missions used to be about 6, 7 hours and,
mm,
you'd get hungry in the middle of the flight. So there would be sandwiches and there would be coffee in that. And so like that, there were all these people, but there were all these hierarchies and everybody operated, the, pilots had that
mhm,
swag and they walked around, the first among equals and that. So I got everybody together and I, tried to get them all to say that, finally our job is to get that machine to fly and the mission to be achieved. And
yeah,
everybody plays a role in that. If the coffee is not there, the sandwich is not there, you are going to be in trouble. If your parachute is not packed well, and when
yeah,
something goes wrong, you're going to be in grief. If
yeah,
the aircraft is not serviced and, someone has not tightened the screw with the right amount of torque or something like that,
mhm,
you could fall down. So, and similarly, the pilot also just flies and he flies only because all these other people ensure that he flies.
yeah,
So
yeah,
today I do theater, and even there,
mhm,
whether the props have to come in and the people from behind who help you with that, and so what
yeah,
is the size of your role? It doesn't matter, because if that one person who has got that 1 minute appearance, but that person doesn't come on time, the entire play will crash. So you may be the greatest performer, but the story won't be told and you'll not be able to get that cue to deliver your dialogue if that
yeah,
guy doesn't do his job. So we are
yeah,
finally a team and we have all got one goal to achieve, and if we are all enrolled and everyone feels equally responsible and proud and ownership of that role, that's the only way it can work. And that's what is the leader's job, to ensure that everybody is inspired, there is a common goal, and everyone feels important to contribute and everybody owns that goal. So I think that's finally leadership.
So that brings me on to the next question, really, because I can think of a million examples where things have gone wrong because the so called small person or the insignificant one messed up and the whole thing collapsed. Okay. I can think of a million such examples.
Mm,
And if we have time, I will share one or two, which is from theater background. So I would love to share it.
yeah.
But so the important question then is, how do you demonstrate this leadership behavior? How do you inspire firstly yourself and then people around you to have this shared vision?
Yeah. So I guess that's what entrepreneurship is all about, because I think here we are talking about leadership and
Mhm.
entrepreneurship. So
Yeah.
the start point is that you have to have a, uh, vision which is inspirational. So it can't be that I'm an entrepreneur just for making money and it's such a transactional thing. I mean, you have to have a sense of purpose. Why
Okay.
are you there?
Uh-huh.
Kind of.
Okay.
So there has to
Mm-hmm.
be a larger purpose which inspires
Mm-hmm.
everybody.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
when that happens, like I did one training program with this company which was into the pharma business, and where they used to primarily take drugs and see whether their side effects of those drugs are there which are reported, and based on that they would say whether the drug has to be recalled or whether it has to
Okay.
what changes have to be made and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So now this was a back office in India,
Mm-hmm.
and the companies that were there were in Japan and in the US, who were the manufacturer of that drug. So each of these people were actually performing very mundane tasks of
Mm-hmm.
the transcription would be received by them, that this is what was reported as a side effect, and they had their task cut out, that so many inputs that they get, and they're going to put them together and forward it, because and all of them looked at their job only as what they were doing rather than the bigger purpose. So then
Okay.
when we had this training session, we got them into, okay, what is your purpose,
Mm-hmm.
and what is the purpose of this organization, and what is your purpose. So it got down to saving lives. So the
Okay.
moment it moved to that level, those people realized that whatever job that they were doing was not just that taking the transcription and writing and putting that data together and that small cog in the wheel. You have to have
Mm-hmm.
the big picture always in mind, that you may be a small cog in the wheel, but the
Mm-hmm.
big picture is this. And when you see the big picture, it becomes inspirational, because then your work also becomes big. You get a higher sense of purpose than, so as you just mentioned, my job is just cutting those circles. And if you're going to
Mm-hmm.
remain at that level, then
Yeah.
you don't see the big picture. Why are you doing what you're doing? So your inspiration and your dedication is operating only at that stage. So when there is an inspirational vision,
Mm-hmm.
people automatically rise to the occasion.
Yeah.
That's my firm belief and experience. So that's where I come in, that as an entrepreneur, the first step is you have to have an inspirational vision. And so money everybody earns,
Yeah.
I mean, but finally you have to have a sense of purpose, and your purpose can't be earning money. Money is just a means to live life. You have to have a
Right.
higher
Right.
purpose in life. So
Mm-hmm.
to be able to identify that purpose for yourself, and then
Mm-hmm.
to be able to inspire people around that purpose, so that they join you and collaborate with you, and
Mm-hmm.
help you, and co-own that purpose. That's what I think is the bottom line.
I loved how you phrased it, the inspirational vision and the sense of purpose. Okay, because um, I think it was Friday. On Friday, I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine. He has a family-run business of international schools across Europe, and he was saying that I don't know how to motivate these teachers. We're paying them more than what other schools are paying them. He was talking about training, payment, and all of this, and I said, you know what? Now you can take one teacher out of the classroom and offer her two things. You can tell her that I want you to try teaching with a new pedagogy, a new methodology or philosophy, and I'm going to train you, and this is what you're going to do next in your classroom. Okay, for that, you can either have more salary for implementing the new pedagogy, or you'll be able to see what the impact is on the child and how the child has genuinely benefited from your effort, how this child is going to go on to be a successful human being in the future. And you ask this teacher, what is it that's going to give her more satisfaction? And the answer is obviously that most people have most people are good at heart, and having this inspirational vision that when my contribution in someone's life is going to change their life. For me as a teacher, when I know my contribution in this particular classroom is going to change lives of all these little people in front of me, that is more than enough for me. So it's not the money that inspires me to get out of bed and go to work every morning. It is that feeling that me being there is going to shape these little minds. And I could go in a grumpy mood and I'll still get my salary, or I could go with a smile on my face and inspire these little children, and I would still get the same salary whether I'm smiling or frowning. But then one or the other is going to make a huge difference, a positive or a negative. And how do I want to shape these minds? And that is what inspires me as a person, as a teacher. So so I loved how you put it, that this every entrepreneur, if they can have this inspirational vision, most of us do, and if we can share that with our team, then I think that would make a huge difference to people. And for them to realize, as you said, though they might be a small cog in the wheel, but that little cog is making a huge difference. And what is that difference? How is their impact on the big picture? Like you said, that parachute not being there, or the nut not being tight enough, was going to take someone's life, was going to. So that little job also was not a little job, that was a very important function. And how is that impacting the whole picture? I think that's the inspiration. So that is brilliant, that is amazing. Yeah, so I think what we talked about so far is leadership being a behavior. And yeah, the leader is just a position. So you could be a leader but not have that leadership quality in you. And you could not be a leader, so called, but you would still have the leadership behavior that you demonstrate. And how you demonstrate that behavior is by having that inspirational vision, and a bigger sense of purpose, and inspiring people around you to have that shared vision, and letting them know how their actions are impacting that big vision, the big purpose. So that is brilliant.
The fear,
Moving on. Mhm.
yeah,
Go
sorry,
on, Tevin.
the fear sometimes with encouraging people to have a leadership behavior is that they can be scared to work more and not to be paid and to feel underpaid. What is quite a that's quite a fair concern. So, what would you how do you actually answer uh, to people having that fear that is quite uh, fair?
So I would just give you an example of an adversity that happens. So say like a 9/11 kind of a situation that happened, responsibility and how much you are getting paid or whatever it is, but you still rise up, take initiative, and you. So it's an attitude actually. So you'll find that whenever there is a situation which demands, that's what is called leadership. That you tell everybody, okay, start evacuating, and
Mm.
you tell everybody, okay, keep quiet and stand down and things like. So there are these people who rise up, whereas there are other people who may be in senior positions, who may be vice presidents and this and that, but when that kind of a situation comes, they don't really know, or they would like to kind of escape and save themselves, rather than actually taking leadership and ownership of people. So that's why I said it is a behavioral thing. So when it is your sense of self-preservation and selfishness which comes, when it comes to what's in it for me, and you are operating at your stage, that level, rather than at the big picture of what are you achieving, how are you impacting. So it's a mindset question. So I think it will be a great thing for all people to introspect, that when an opportunity comes for them to demonstrate, there is a leadership opportunity, whether they demonstrate that leadership or whether they say what's in it for me, and therefore because I'm not getting paid enough or whatever else, so I'm going to only do this much because this is what I'm being paid for. So then I think you can look at yourself to say whether I'm really a leader or not. So I think you make yourself valuable to an organization. The more the organization leans on you, the more they
Yeah.
realize that you are valuable, and automatically, and that's where again a good organization rewards and recognizes and acknowledges people who show leadership, because I think it's quite palpable. It's like when you are in love, it shows. So it's like that, so that leadership ability also, it shows. Everybody knows who's the go-to person when things go wrong, kind of a thing. So
Mm.
I think one should not hesitate, because it's finally about your own growth and your own sense of purpose. If that individual looks and tries to measure everything as a transaction of and put a price to that your own behavior, it's your choice. Whereas I think true leadership is, there is so much of selfless leadership. There are people who do in society. It's not always a reward return kind of a situation. So that's what behavior, kindness, leadership, all these kind of things are, I think, very innate things. I don't think we should, put an economic or a commercial this thing. That's my personal. A soldier dies for his country. The soldier doesn't get paid corporate salaries, but he still dies. So he doesn't say that, I wish I was a banker or something. He gets paid more than me, but I die, and why should I die, kind of a thing. So I think that's the way it is. It's more of, your sense of purpose.
I can resonate with that in ways that I'm not going to talk about myself, but just this morning, I'm with family at the moment, so I was, it's just the whole nostalgic thing, and I was talking about my grandfather, and as you said, it's a mindset, and people evaluate things from that mindset. It becomes kind of the glasses that they wear. They see everything through that mindset, and my grandfather had these leadership qualities in him. And a simple example of that, what I was talking this morning, I was discussing this with my uncle. um, I must have been like 9 or 10, and I remember this is the time when we didn't have mobile phones or anything, and I grew up in India. My mom used to go to work at 8:30 in the morning, and I used to go to school at 9 then. So she works in the bank. She still does. She left me an envelope, a brown envelope, a big fat envelope, and said, "So Mr. Shinde is going to come home. Just hand it to him. Okay, he'll be here at 9. I really got to leave now. He'll be here at 9. You hand it to him, and then you go." And I said, "Okay, fine." I was getting ready. I grabbed the envelope from her. That was it. I was, morning routine. It was 9 o'clock, and this guy still wasn't there. Now, we didn't have mobile phones or anything, so I could not call my mom or him to find out if he was running late. And I was running late for school, so I was kind of panicking. I saw my grandfather who was about to go for his morning walk, and I said, "Okay, wait, don't go anywhere." Just I kind of just handed him the envelope, and I said, "Some Mr. Shinde is coming here. Just give it to him, and that's it. Okay, I gotta run." And my grandfather grabbed me by my arm, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, young lady, where you going?" And I was like, "I gotta go to school." And then he said, "But what's this?" I said, I just said, "Some Mr. Shinde will come, just give it to him." I was starting to get angry because I was running late. And he's like, "Who's Mr. Shinde?" I said, "I don't know." Like, "Okay, what's in the envelope?" I said, "I don't know." "Is it his envelope?" "I don't know." "Who gave it to you?" "My mom gave." "Why?" "I don't know." "What is he going to do with it?" "I don't know." So every answer was of mine was, "I don't know." And he had a million questions to ask. Finally, I got so frustrated and I said to him, "Grandpa, what's wrong with you? Why won't you just hand the damn envelope to the Shinde and let go?" And he said, "No, I'm not going to do that. I need to know what's in the envelope." I said, "All you need to know, it's from my mom. It's going to this Shinde. Okay. Mom knows this guy, so it's okay. Why don't you trust her? Do you think she's a terrorist or a drug dealer? What is wrong with you?" And he calmly replied, "I know she's not a terrorist or a drug dealer, but I'm not a donkey either." And I was like, "What?" And he said, "Yes, This is donkey mentality, that, on a donkey's back, you lay something, you smack him on the back with a cane, and he starts walking. And that, or you tangle a carrot in front of him and he starts walking. When he stops again, the cane or the carrot, and he starts walking again. The donkey has no idea what's on his back. The donkey has no idea where it's going. The donkey has no idea whether whatever he takes to the destination, what is going to be the impact of it. If he doesn't take it, who is going to miss what is it for construction, is it for eating, what are the consequences of him not doing his job? He has no idea. He's only afraid of the stick or attracted by the carrot, and that's how a donkey operates. So my grandfather said, I'm not a donkey. I admit your mother is not a drug dealer, but I'm not going to pass on an envelope to somebody. And he stuck by his guns. He did not pass the envelope. I was late to school, but he did not pass the envelope. So, and when you said it's a mindset, and people don't think at that point it was a family thing, there was no question of paying, no, not paying, nothing. But it's that mindset. He always operates from the mindset of, how is my contribution making an impact to this household, to the society, to the country, and to the community at large? And that is a mindset. And I have seen a lot of people operating from that mindset. Well, my friends, my husband, they worked. My husband works late every single day, and I tell him, why are you doing this? You work 9 to 5, you get still the same salary. You work 9 o'clock to 9 o'clock, you still get the same salary. Okay, why are you doing this? And he's like, I don't care. I'm not doing this for a salary. He's a scientist, so he develops medicines. It's like, I know how important this is. I know the impact of it's going to save at least 3 million lives, and that's what I'm working for. So it's that mindset. How is that inspirational vision that you talked about? So a lot of people don't think of the financial implications of it. They think about the impact of it. And then, as you pointed out, a good manager, leader, again, in the company would be able to recognize these leadership qualities in their subordinates, and they will promote these people either and reward them financially or otherwise as well. And if that goes unnoticed in a company for too long, then these people, after getting fed up, they will move on to other places, which a lot of them do, or they will get promoted and they'll be valued there. So either way, that works out, because when you demonstrate these leadership qualities, you're rewarded one way or the other. And the bigger reward usually is that accomplished goal, the formed temple, not the monetary sanction that you get. So yeah, that's amazing.
I like that compromise, actually. That because I still think that for someone who got like a decent salary, yes, there come a moment where it can be okay. Money is not that important. For people that got low salary, I still don't want to dismiss that money is a concern, you know.
Yeah.
So, but I like that the reality is that first of all, you should not stop yourself from giving your best because of a fear. So first, I think that would be the first answer for me. Still show those leadership qualities, and like Nikita says, and I think that Dr. Commander Deepak agree with that. Is that actually people are gonna notice that, you know? So you don't even have to say anything. People are gonna notice that, and they would promote you. And if they don't promote you, at least you know that in your you're in line with your own values. And yeah, there might be a time where you will have to make a decision, or stay in a company that doesn't recognize your values, or finding another companies where your value will be recognized.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And as is,
So,
sorry, go on.
yeah, so I was just saying that it's like a diamond. So, if the farmer sees the diamond on his field and it is coming in the plow, he sees it as a rock which is actually breaking his plow. Because the farmer is not a diamond merchant who really understands the value of that. Whereas that same piece of rock, when it goes into a jewelry shop, it is worth billions. So that's it. So if this, jewel is not being recognized in a company, it's that company's loss.
Yeah.
It's so sad that, if, and certainly if you feel that you're not being valued, then there is no denying that that, and that's the good thing about a corporate, that you quit and you go somewhere else where you will be valued. I mean, and that's true in any relationship. Whether it is
Yeah.
even as a couple or whether it is
Yeah.
in an organization. So that's the whole point. You have to feel valued, and for that you have to, from your side at least, do the thing. I'm so reminded of, and one of the biggest examples and the ultimate leader that I can think of is actually Mahatma Gandhi from my country. And I mean, I was so proud to statue in that city. All other statues are not of any human being. They've got modern art structures and things like that, but they don't have any. I mean, from Buddha to Christ to any of the kings, none. The only human statue there, and that too in front of the United Nations circle, is Mahatma Gandhi's. And I mean, he's one of, and I remember seeing Richard Attenborough's film, and it starts with, it's his funeral, and the commentator, BBC commentator, is saying, "Who is this man, whose funeral it is? Is he a king? No. Is he a politician? No. Is he a businessman? No. Is he a sports star, or is he a film star, or is he? He's nobody. I mean, if you were to define who he was, but yet, so many heads of state, so many people, religious heads from all over the world, and the sea of humanity which is present there, which have come to mourn him on his funeral. So
Mhm.
that's what explained that person. And in fact, that's where again what Nikita said of self leadership. So he didn't want to people to kind of follow him. He just was an example of leading himself, and the reason why the whole world followed him, and even President Clinton had his photograph in his office while in the Oval Office while he was there, is because of his self leadership, of the initiative he took, what he stood for, his values, his inspirational vision, that kind of thing. So that's it. I mean, he didn't ever translate it to money. If you really see what were, when he went to meet the Queen in London, the clothes that he was wearing, the press called him the naked fakir. And when he told the Queen also that, "Ma'am, what you are wearing is enough for both of us," and that kind of a thing. So uh, that's it. It's not necessarily translated, but I totally agree with you that money is a hygiene factor, and if your basic hygiene is not being met, as far as food, clothing, and shelter, and looking after is concerned, you can't say that it doesn't matter. But I'm just
True.
saying that that can't be the driving force. Money is essential, but it is not the end all. And finally, you have to have a purpose that has to be larger than money. That's all I'm
Agree.
saying. I don't mean to yeah.
No, no, no. I completely agree, and I understood that also. I just wanted to clarify for everyone, but I I completely understood that. Talking about that, I love that sentence from that phrase from Mahatma Gandhi. Be the change you want to see in the world. I really like that.
Oh,
So any
sorry. I thought it was all breaking up for a second. Can you all hear me?
Yeah,
yeah,
I
loud
just
and clear,
Okay.
loud and
Okay. I'm going to actually, I know we've talked about this already, but I'm still going to just make one final comment on the whole financial aspect of things, because I have been in that position when I moved to this country. I was working on minimum pay, and it wasn't great. Life was difficult. And I had a choice of whether I could have just done the bare minimum job that was needed of me, and then left, gone out, and done something else, had a second evening job or whatever. But I did not. I stayed back and I put in more and more, and I wasn't getting paid for it. I was doing overtime, which I was not getting paid for. And the time that I was getting paid for was also minimum London wage. But I kept telling myself that if I were to go right now and apply for a different job here because my overtime is not being paid, if I were to go out and apply for another job, I would still get minimum wage because I haven't got UK experience. So I have an option right now. I can keep jumping from one job to another, hoping that someday someone's going to pay me a little bit more than the London minimum wage. Or I could work here and develop myself, get upskill myself so that someone else will definitely pay me more. And in that process of upskilling myself, I was putting in more and more and more, and to the extent that I became indispensable to my company. And then I got an offer from somebody else, and I said, okay, I gotta go because they're paying me more now and you're still paying me this. You're not paying my overtime, so I gotta go. Really was great, learned a lot, thank you. And that's when my boss said, no, I can't afford to lose you. What are they paying you? I'll beat that. And that's how it happened. To be honest, even in between that stage, my boss had kind of recognized that I was putting in extra hours. So, but the company was at that stage not in a place where they could have just easily given me a pay raise. So they gave me other incentives. So I was offered, lunch at school and things like that. So other incentives were given. So I do genuinely believe that even if you are at the worst state financially, putting in that effort does two things. First, it helps you upskill yourself and learn new things, and secondly, someone will recognize that effort. And if nobody does, then another company will recognize it, so your learning will come in handy. So don't give up is what I would say. And similar thing, and it's not just my own experience, I have seen this happen to many people. Same with my husband. As I mentioned, he works, like, he slogs himself, and then the company was a small company. They couldn't afford to give him the pay rise, so he had to leave. But the existing company said, we cannot make do without you, and we understand you're getting twice as much elsewhere in a bigger pharma company. So yes, that's the right thing to do, go on, but we can't do without you. Is there any way you could do external consultancy and additional work for us on your terms and conditions? And he did. So that's what generally happens. You make yourself indispensable, that the company cannot work without you. Even if you're the smallest cog in there, well, if that one cog comes out, the whole wheel falls apart. And most people do that. So that's a good lesson for people, no matter how small or how big. If money is a concern, just keep in mind that you're learning from it. You're making yourself better and better every single day. And someone is going to recognize that either in your own company or outside, and that would pay off someday. So yeah, keep hope. I am kind of aware of time and I have so much to ask. So I'm going to straight dive in again. Tevin, is it okay if I jump in and
Yeah, please go on.
Okay, sorry, I'm not giving you any chance to speak. I'm taking
problem.
undue advantage of the fact that you've lost your voice, which is not great.
You can, I will have my revenge. Don't worry.
Yeah. Okay, so I do know what goes wrong in leadership is a lot of times people lead from a place of fear. And especially when they have the position, the leader, they want to be right, as opposed to wanting to be curious or explore. So when things don't work out, if a project deadline is not met, I have seen this happen in companies, have read about it in several leadership books and courses as well, where when things go wrong, the whole thing is that the leader wants to prove that, but I was right, you were wrong, and that's how things went wrong. I've done my bit. I'm a good leader. You're not a good team. And that's because people are operating from a place of fear. They want to be right and not wronged, because our brain works like that. When we are wrong, it's our ego is hurt. It's kind of we feel like it's a fatal demise for our ego, which is again threatening our sense of identity. And that's what people don't want, because it just triggers you in certain ways. Like the caveman, if his physical being, his survival was endangered, he would act from a reptilian brain, not think it through. The same thing happens for us, which is beat ego, but it threatens our identity, our sense of who we are, and people operate from this place of fear. What would you say about that? How do you kind of operate from a place where you're okay, probably to be wrong? And
Yeah. So I think I would like to use a lovely word called growth. And I think,
okay.
as a human being, one should always try to grow, strive to
Uh-huh.
grow.
Yeah.
And that's what I try to do even as a parent with my children. And how do I defend or define growth is, the ability to be able to take better decisions. That is what is
Okay.
called growth. And I
Uh-huh.
think that happens when you take bad decisions, because when you take bad decisions and you realize
Yeah.
what went wrong, is the only way that you can ensure that you are going to take better decisions afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are going to be prevented from taking a decision which was bad, so you never know. So failure actually is the pillar of success, is what is often said. That, and you learn much more because you tend to introspect more when you fail. What could have I done
Uh-huh.
better? Whereas in success, what happens is that you're more often than not so busy,
Yeah.
accepting the accolades and this thing, basking in the glory and all those kind of things, that
Yeah.
you start getting a sense of, I'm perfect and I can do no wrong kind of a thing. Whereas a lot of things could have
Yeah.
happened by chance. So you don't really introspect, whereas failure forces you to do that.
Exactly.
So a lot of companies like 3M and all, they actually celebrate failure because they actually realize that there is going to be so much to learn from, or you actually
Mm-hmm.
grow because of that failure. So that's one. Second is what you said very nicely about ego. So I think to operate from an ego state is a very low state to operate from, because then your idea and you become the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an idea that
Ah.
came to you, but that's not you. And you have to
Yeah.
ensure that the best idea is taken so that it
Mm-hmm.
succeeds and the organization goal is achieved. So the moment it
Yeah.
becomes that because it was my idea and you have to accept it, so
Mm-hmm.
then I'm operating from a very, shallow ego state, because I am equating myself with an idea. And that
Mm-hmm.
idea could have come from, anywhere in my mind, but I'm just articulating it. And because it came out from me, my identity and my idea are collapsing into one. Whereas you
Yeah.
need to take a step back and say, I'm not my idea. It is an
Mm-hmm.
idea
Yeah.
that came from me, and may the best idea win. So what
Yeah.
usually in my organization we used to do was that only, that the boss used to keep quiet and used to only put the problem in front and say, okay, let's hear solutions. And in that, it used to be mandatory that the youngest and the newest person in the organization would give
Mm-hmm.
his or her solution first, and
Mm-hmm.
the boss would at the end of it all come with that. Because what happens is, the moment the boss walks in and if he says, I think this is the problem and this is what is the way to go about it, now everybody else would like to resonate with the boss and not disagree with the boss and try to prove the boss wrong, because it would be a wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
And how do you prevent the best idea from coming out if you are going to allow that to happen? So the best way is that the boss is not allowed to speak. He has to keep quiet. Only the problem is put. Everybody else gives their idea. And then on the merit of the idea and not whose it is, a
Yeah.
collective decision is taken on how to go. So I think that's one of the ways. Second is, and that is one of the ways in which the forces always works, that the bouquets are yours and the brickbats are mine. So as a leader, if I'm there and if the team fails, I take
Yeah.
responsibility and ownership for it, to say,
Mm-hmm.
whosoever's idea it was, I was the boss, I was the leader, and I took a call, even if it was not
Yeah.
mine. But the fact
Yeah.
is that I took that call. So I take full
Yeah.
responsibility for it. Whereas if if the idea was somebody else's and it works, I should
Mm-hmm.
be man enough to stand up and acknowledge and say thank you and acknowledge that person in front of the team and in front of my superiors and everybody, to say our team won, but I want to say that the idea was this. But that doesn't make me less, because the fact remains that as a leader, It was my ability to be able to keep my ego aside and to keep the
Yeah.
big picture and the organization goal and the vision ahead of me. So that's it. When I do that, then my organization is actually equal to my team because I'm getting
Mm.
everybody's ideas in. But if it
Yeah.
is always going to be my idea, then the team is only going to be as good as I am. So, which is not a good thing because, if we are a team with so many people and if we are not going to synergize and be better than individuals, then
Yeah.
what's the use? So, a good leader is someone who can, actually synergize. And synergy means 1+1 not being 2 but 11.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
that's
that is
my thing.
amazing. That's wonderful. Yes. The whole concept of a team is so that we can maximize from everyone's potential and their skills. And I loved what you said, because if a leader is only implementing his ideas, then yeah, there is no team. It's one person and it's his ideas, and everything is one way or the highway, and it doesn't work like that. The best is going to be, yeah, his best ideas, but if you work as a team. And I love the fact, the idea of letting everyone speak and the leader speaks at the end, because normally that is exactly what happens. The boss comes in, says, oh, we've got this problem, I think this, if we do this, it might work, and everyone goes, yes sir, yes. And then that's it, that's what you're stuck with. But someone else in there might have a better idea, but they will not open their mouth now because you don't want to go against the boss.
I
So
really, I
allowing
really,
others to speak. Yeah.
I really like that for sure. Could I summarize to end up from what you have, what well, the great advice that you gave is that leadership is like a behavior, so anyone can be a leader. It doesn't matter if you don't have the title. I love that.
Mm.
Regarding the self leadership, I love the fact you have inspirational vision. And the last thing about the way to lead is to give, as a leader, to be the last to talk. Will that be a good summary of our conversation today, Dr. Commander?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Commander Deepak, thank you so much for your presence to today. The time went so quickly.
I
Hopefully,
know. We have to have him back.
yeah, hopefully we'll come back when we invite you next time. So I've put a link to your LinkedIn. Uh, I'm sure that people would have enjoyed your advice, and if they want to have more information, I can only encourage them to connect with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was such an honor, and I'm really grateful to be given this opportunity to share my experiences with you.
Thank you
Thank you,
very much.
Nikita.
Thank you very much.
Many
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, Commander Deepak. See you
Bye.
soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.